What's up? What's up? It's your man Jimmy Chan. So, hey, let's talk about LabWork 9. This is also getting you ready for the good old exam before spring break. So, let's start with number 1 here. So, it's dividing fractions. So, the first step in dividing fractions is to factor everything. Obviously, everything that you can factor, that is. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So here we go. We have the top. You may have to use, the side of the paper to do the AC method here. But you're going to get here is going to be x plus 6 and x minus 1 over, let me see here, this is going to be x plus 3 times x plus 6 divided by, this is the difference of two squares, so it's going to be x minus 1 and x plus 1. And then the bottom is going to be x plus 3 times x plus 4. All right? And since this is dividing, the second step, actually, you know what? Let's do a different color here. Let's do blue so you guys can see what the second step is. Second step is going to be copy, change, and flip. Okay, so I'm going to copy the first. Change the division to multiplication, and then flip the second one. So the bottom comes up top, and the top goes to the bottom. All right, and then the third step is to simplify. Okay, meaning I'm multiplying these two. You know what? Let's actually make this. Let's not make this the third step. Let's do the third step as to multiply. And then we'll make the fourth step to simplify. Here we go. All right, so when we multiply, what we're going to have is this. That's not what I want to do. I want to change this to black. I want to erase that. So when we multiply, it's going to be top times top, bottom times bottom. So that's what we're going to get. All right. And when we simplify, what we would do is ask ourselves if there's anything on the bottom that would match to the ones on top. And I usually go in order. So I would ask the x plus 6 first. Yes, there is. The x minus 1. Yes, there is. X plus 3. Yes, there is. X plus 4. No. Okay. So that gives me a chance to make sure that I get every single one rather than randomly selecting certain ones. So that would be my answer, and that is choice D. And it's definitely not a bad idea to put parentheses around these. So I would definitely suggest that for sure. All right. There's number 1. Okay. Number 2. All right. So number 2, we're adding subtracting fractions. Okay. okay? And the first step here, you guessed it, factor everything. At least the one that we can factor, okay? And mainly, it's going to be the bottom more than anything else. So what I'm going to have is the b is good. There we go. And the bottom is going to be the difference of two squares. So it's going to be b minus 5 and b plus 5. Plus, this one is already done. So this is going to be a b plus 5, put parentheses around it, minus 6 over b. Okay. Step 2, the way I say it is multiply top and bottom by their missing piece or pieces. Okay? So if you look, what do they have that I don't have? So the first fraction there is going to be missing a b. So I got to multiply the top by a b. The second is missing two things. It's missing the b and it's missing the b minus 5. And the third one is missing the b minus 5 and the b plus 5, which we got from the difference of two squares. So it's really the b squared minus 25. Right? All right. So when I look at the denominator, there's b minus 5, b plus 5 here, b minus 5, b plus 5 here, b minus 5, b plus 5 here. So as I check the denominators, all three of them are the same. So I'm good. All right. All right. So what's the third step? Step 3 is going to be add or subtract the top and keep the bottom. Okay, so if I had to do that, I would be this. So the bottom is b times b minus 5 times b plus 5. And the top, I'm going to have b squared as my first term plus a 5b times b minus 5 minus 6 times b squared minus 25 is what I have there. All right, so the top is going to be a b squared plus 5b squared minus 25 minus 6b squared plus 150. Because I have to distribute. Don't forget that I have to distribute this 5b in, and I got to distribute this negative 6 through. Okay, so remember to do that. Okay, so the bottom is still going to be b minus 5, b plus 5. Okay, so what do I have on top? If I look at the b squared, the b squared actually goes away, right? And I guess I would say step 4 is to simplify. Okay, so the top here is going to give me 0b squared. Ooh, I missed a part here. This is 25. There we go. Because there's a negative 25b. So I got to be careful with that. So this is actually equal to 0b squared minus 25b plus 150 all over b times b minus 5 times b plus 5. Okay. which is equal to, now if you look at the choices, this choice isn't quite there. However, I could take a GCF of 25 out of the top, because what I do want to do is try to factor the top just to see if, just to see if I can cancel anything, if I can put this into a lower terms, right? So let me see. If I took out negative 25, I'll have a b left and a minus 6 over b times b minus 5 times b plus 5, okay? And that's going to be your choice C. So that would be my answer there. There we go. There we go. All right, so that's number 2. On to number 3. Number 3 is a complex fraction. The first thing I would recommend is this, right? Putting parentheses around everything, right? So this is a complex fraction. And step 1 in complex fraction is to get top to be 1 fraction, and also to get the bottom to be 1 fraction. Okay? And that part is already done, which is great. Okay? And what's step 2? Step 2 is to copy, change, and flip. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So copy the top. Change that division to multiplication and flip the bottom. So the bottom of the bottom is the top, and the top of the bottom is the bottom. There we go. And then step 3, okay, I guess I won't want to cooperate. Step 3 is to multiply. And step 4, well, let me multiply first. Duplicate that. So that's what I would get. And then last step is to simplify. Okay, so if I simplify, nothing cancels. So the top is just going to be x times x minus 9. And the bottom is going to be a 4 times x minus 2. And nothing cancels. So therefore, you have the answer A. And there we go. All right. To number 4. All right. So this is also a complex fraction. However, it brings back some of the recalled stuff from chapter 5. So what we need to do is individually change those negative exponents to be positive exponents. So when we do that, what we actually get is the top left-hand corner is going to be 1 over m plus 1 over z all over 1 over m minus 1 over Z. Wrong option that I wanted. There we go. All right. So, again, repeating step one, what was it? It's a complex fraction. So complex fraction, if you look back in the previous problem, the first step is to get the top to be one fraction and the bottom to be one fraction. So if I only focus on top, right, what is missing on, in the denominator, because I got to get common denominators in order to add or subtract fractions. So this one right here is missing an m. So I got to multiply the top and bottom by m. And this one, the first one, is missing a z. So I got to multiply the top and bottom by z. Okay. So what is that going to give me? Well, that's going to give me a z plus m over zm. Okay. And then the bottom, I got to do the same thing. So what is m missing? M is missing the z. So I got to multiply the top by z. The z is missing an m. So I got to multiply the top by m. So what do I get there? I'm going to get a z minus m over zm. So now I'll put both of these over into a fraction. Okay. So after that, what do I do? Right? I copy, change, flip. I believe that is the second step in blue. Yep, copy, change, flip. So let's go into that. So this is going to be now copy z plus m over zm, change division to multiplication, and flip the bottom one, zm over z minus m. Okay, and then I need to multiply. But don't forget your parentheses here. So the zm both cancel out. And the fourth step is to simplify. So those cancel out. So all I'm left with is a z plus m over a z minus m. Okay? And that is choice C. There we go. All right. Oopsies. There we go. All right. So that is number 4. There we go. All right. So that's number 4. And here's number 5. This is a polynomial divided by a monomial. Okay, and basically the first step is to actually, I believe I used the word split into individual fractions. Okay, so if I had to do that, so what I will have is I'll have a 15 x to the 9th over 5x to the 6th minus 40 x to the 8th over 5x to the 6th minus 40 x to the 6th over 5x to the 6th plus 25 x to the 4th over 5x to the 6th. Okay? All right. So what's step 2? Simplify each fraction. Okay. So if I look at the first fraction, 15 divided by 5 is 3. And then x to the 9th, there's 9 x's on top, 6 x's on the bottom, 6 of them cancels out. I have 3 of them left on top, minus 8. I got 8 x's on top, 6 x's on the bottom. I'm left with 2 x's on top. This is just going to be 8 because I got 6 x's on top, 6 x's on the bottom. They all cancel out. So I'm left with just the 40 divided by 5 plus the 5. Now look at the x. There's 4 x's on top, 6 x's on the bottom. 4 of them cancel out. I got 2 left on the bottom. So I got x squared on the bottom and then the 5 on top. All right. And that is going to be my choice C. There we go. Nice. All right. Next problem. We're going to number 6. Okay. Number 6 is the same exact thing. So again, the first step was to split them into separate fractions, right? So this is going to be a 30 x to the 6 over negative 5x to the 6 minus a 25x squared over a negative 5x to the 6. Okay? So what I'm going to have is I'm going to get a negative 6 because x to the 6 and x to the 6. So I got 6 x's on top, 6 x's on the bottom. They all cancel out. No more x's left. So I just have the negative 6. The next one is a subtracting, and the result of that fraction is going to be a negative. So I'm going to have a minus a negative, which is actually a plus. So look at the x's. I got 2 x's on top, 6 x's on the bottom. 2 of them cancel out. I got 4 left on the bottom. So this would be a 5 over x to the 4th. Okay? And that is going to give me choice B. Excellent. All right. On to number 7. Uh-oh. Long division. Okay, so this is the one that we usually like to put some work on the side. So here we go. So step 1. So this is long division. So step 1, how many times? So how many times does negative 5 go into negative 15x squared? So I go negative 15x squared divided by negative 5x, and I get a 3x. So I'll write down 3x on top. Then I got step 2. I gotta take that that 3x, and I gotta multiply it by that binomial, which is negative 5x minus 4. And that's gonna give me a negative 15x squared minus 4x. Oh, sorry. Let's try that again. Minus 12x. There we go. All right, so let's write that down. Negative 15x squared minus 12x. Okay, so step 3 is what? Flip the signs and add. So I gotta flip this sign and this sign, and then I'm gonna add. So the 15x squared goes away, and now I'm left with a 35x. And then the last step is to bring down the next term. So I'm going to bring down this 28, and then I repeat the steps again. Okay, so step 1 is, how many times does 5x go into 35x? Right, so I write down 35x over negative 5x, and that's going to give me a negative 7. So I'll put down minus 7 here. And then step 2 is going to be that negative 7 times the negative 5x minus 4, and that's going to give me a 35x plus 28. Okay, so let's write that down. 35x plus 28. The third step is to flip the signs and add. When I flip the sign, the positive 35 becomes a negative 35x, and the positive 28 becomes a negative 28. And when I add, I get 0. So I have no remainders. I don't have anything else to bring down. So therefore, my answer is going to be a 3x minus 7. And that gives you choice B. And there we go. That's number 7. On to number 8. Another long division. Row. But this one, notice that you needed placeholders, right? You needed placeholders, right? So here we go. Step 1. Step 1, I use 36x to the third divided by that 6x, because I'm asking how many times does 6x go into 36x cubed, right? So there we go. So that's going to give me a 6x squared. So I write down 6x squared. Then step 2, I want to take that 6x squared and multiply it by the 6x minus 1, and I'm going to get a 36x to the third minus 6x squared. And then I have to flip the sign and add, so I get 6x squared, and then I have to bring down the next term. right? So then I repeat. Back to step one. Step one is how many times does 6x go into 6x squared? Okay, so I take 6x squared, put it over 6x, and I get just an x. Okay, so I put down plus x here. So then step two. Step two is where you take that x and you're going to multiply it by the 6x minus 1, which is going to give me a 6x squared minus x. So 6x squared minus x. Then I have to flip the sign and add. So I'm going to get a negative 24x. Actually, let me do this really quick. Don't like that, how I wrote that. There we go. So I get negative 24x. And then I got to bring down the next term. There we go. That's going to be plus 0. Then I got to go one more time. And yes, that placeholder needs to be there. So from highest power to lowest power. So the highest power is 3. The lowest power will be 0. So it would be 0x to the 0 power, and and anything to the 0 power is just 1. And so therefore it would be just the number 0. So step 1 is how many times does 6x minus 1 go into (24x) negative 24x. So we're going to write negative 24x over 6x, and that gives me a negative 4. So step 2 is that negative 4 times 6x minus 1. So I'm going to get a negative 24x plus 4. So negative 24x plus 4. All right, and then I got to flip the sign and add, and I'm going to get a negative 4. Okay, so, oops, I forgot to put this negative 4 up here. All right, so now I got left is a negative, subtract 4 over 6x minus 1. So my answer is going to be 6x squared plus x minus 4 minus 4 over 6x minus 1. And that is choice D. There we go. And there we go. On to number 9. Rational equations. All right. Okay, rational equations. So the first thing we want to do is to factor everything, which everything's factored. The only thing that I'm going to tell you to do is put parentheses around all these binomials, right? Second step is going to be multiply each fraction by their missing piece or pieces. All right. So if I look at this, let me do this here. Let me duplicate this so that you can actually see. Okay. So the missing piece here is going to be x minus 4. The missing piece here is just going to be an x. And the missing piece here is just going to be an x. Okay? So if you look at that, if we look at the denominators, this fraction has an x times x minus 4. This one here has an x times x minus 4. And this one here has an x and x minus 4. Awesome. So since this is an equation, right? Equation, I can actually just write my equation with the top. So 3. Let me write it this way. If bottoms are all the same, write the top as your equation. So since the bottom is the same, I'm going to rewrite this. This is going to be 1 times x minus 4 plus 1 times x is equal to x times x minus 3. So there's my equation. Step 4, solve. Okay, so to solve this, I got to distribute everything. So I'm going to have an x minus 4 plus x is equal to x squared minus 3x. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. I'm going to have 2x minus 4 is equal to x squared minus 3x. I see a square term and an equal sign, and that automatically tells me I have a quadratic equation. Okay, so that means I'm going to need to get a zero side and a non-zero side. So I'm going to move everything to the right. So what I'm going to do right now is subtract the 2x and add the 4 over. All right. Let's see what we got here. So the left side is going to be 0, and that's going to equal to x squared minus 5x plus 4. Then I need to factor, and this is going to be a x minus 4, x minus 1 is equal to 0. So I got x minus 4 equals to 0. And then x minus 1 equals to 0. So I got x is equal to 4 and x is equal to 1. Now, there is a last step, right? So when you solve, I won't even call it the last step. I would almost put it as a warning in step 4 if really necessary, right? And that is to check your restrictions. And that is only to see if you can use your answers. And if you notice the restrictions up there, put in fuchsia. X cannot be 4 and x cannot be 0, right? So those are two numbers that can make these denominators 0. So since it cannot be 4, I have to reject x equals 4. So therefore my only answer is x equals to 1, which is choice A. there we go. And there's number 9. Now on to number 10. So one of the things I always say to you with these problems is that you can, you can replace everything else with numbers, and then the ones that you are solving for, replace as, or just keep it as those letters. So in this case, I'm just going to change the style to red. Okay. So I need to find F2. So again, this is an equation, right? This is an equation. So what I'm essentially doing is just putting this over 1. So what I need to do is that I got to ask myself, what does one have that the other one doesn't, right? So if that is the case, that means the one on the left needs this on top and the bottom. So I got to multiply that on top and bottom, right? So since there's the equation, like I just said above, this denominator has F1 plus F2, and if I distribute this 1 through, this denominator is also F1 plus F2. Awesome. So what do I have? As I rewrite this equation, on just the top, I have F times F1 plus F2 is equal to F1 times F2. Okay, so typically what we try to do is get all the things that we want onto one side. Okay, that's our goal. So I'm going to have to distribute this F on the left side, and what I'm going to have is F times F1 plus F times F2, and that's going to equal to F1 times F2. So again, I want to get all the things I'm looking for all on one side. So I'm actually going to move whatever is connected with F2 to the same side. Okay, so I'm actually going to subtract this F sub 2 to both sides. So subtract F sub 2 to both sides. And what do I get? So the left side, I'm going to have F times F1, and that's going to equal to F1 times F2 minus F times F2. All right. Well, look at this. Now as everything is on one side, I can't subtract them because I don't know what the value of F1 and F2 is, so I got to consider those to be non-like terms. But what I can do is take out a GCF. So I have F1, and that's going to equal to, pulling out F2, so I'll have left F1 minus F. So F2, the operation between F2 and the binomial F1 minus F is multiplication. So what I can do is just divide both sides by F1 minus F. And there we go. So what do I have? I have F2 is going to equal to F1 over F1 minus F. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is choice B. There we go. And there we go. And there's number 10. All right. If you have any questions, please let me know. And good luck. Later.